Assalamu alaikum viewers, Ramadan Kareem to all of you. Hope you're all doing great and taking complete advantage of this holy month. I welcome you all to What's Up Doha with me, your host Zunira Malik. My honorable guest today is Dr. Abu Amina Bilal Phillips, a Jamaican-born Canadian Islamic scholar who has embraced Islam at early 70s. He's the chancellor of an Islamic online university and has published around 50 plus books till now, mashallah. I myself have been following his such an inspirational coach since last few years and feels really lucky to welcome him on my talk show. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Bilal Phillips.
Wa alaikum salam wa
I
rahmatullah.
welcome you to my show, What's Up Doha.
My pleasure to be here.
I will start with your journey. Just tell me, if you can explain me in one dialogue, that what was that one thing that made you embrace Islam?
Being convinced basically that the good that existed in other systems, whether it was communism, capitalism, Buddhism, socialism, the good that was there I found in Islam when I did my own search. And the negative aspects of these other systems weren't there. So Islam seemed to summarize and to gather all of the good together in one system.
Means perfect religion amongst all.
Yeah, I mean, that's the conclusion that I came to.
My first question for you is that how important for a Muslim is to know about hukukul ibad, which is human rights in Islam, and how to practice them in our day-to-day life?
Well, of course, you know, part of being a Muslim, part of believing in God, in the teachings of Islam, insist that we have rights which are due to God, rights which are due to our fellow human beings, and rights which are due to the environment and the world in which we live, which God has created for us. So all three are interconnected. We can't say, you know, I'm a very conscientious Muslim, I worship all the time, I pray in the mosque, I, you know, fast Ramadan, do all these things, but in dealing with my fellow humans, you know, I'm not giving them their rights. You know, I'm cheating them, I'm unfair to them, you know, I'm taking their property and all this. Of course, it can't be.
Yeah.
Nor can I even be good in my relationship with God. I worship God alone. Good in my relationship to our fellow human beings in that, you know, I treat them well, but in the environment, I pollute it, I destroy it, you know, I corrupt it, I kill the animals, I do all this. No, that doesn't work either, because we are held accountable for the world in which we live. So when we raise our children, we have to raise them with that consciousness of their responsibility to God, as well as their consciousness of their responsibility to their fellow human beings. We have to teach them, you know, to share with their friends, to be just, to be kind, to be merciful. We have to give them these understandings so that they will be good human beings in dealing with other human beings. As well, you mentioned hukuk al-ibad, you know, or the rights of our fellow worshippers or human beings, but also the rights of the creation. You know, that the animals, we look after them. You know, for example, commonly in the Muslim world, the way we treat dogs, for example. Dogs, you know, we stone them, we kick them, we chase them. Our whole attitude towards the dog is like it's the most hated animal on the face of the earth.
Yeah.
But if you actually read the Quranic text, Allah talks about hunting dogs and hunting with dogs. You know, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and the companions, they had dogs which herded their camels. You know, the dog which guards the house, the dog which helps the person who can't see.
I have a question. So it means we can keep dogs in our houses?
No, there's a difference between...
Yeah, because it's a confusion.
Yeah, it's not a matter of, you see, we got caught up in two different things. One thing is the dog and the role of the dog, right? Okay. In the West, okay, they've gone to extremes. Yeah. Where the dog becomes a family member.
Like a child.
You know, you kiss the dog, you sleep with the dog, you do all this. That's a whole other story. Yeah. You know, we don't take it to that level. But we have to treat the dog well. If we have a hunting dog, we want to go hunting, you know, and the dog goes and brings the animal back after we shoot it. How do you think that dog is going to obey you? If you don't treat that dog well, you feed him well, look after him, you pat him, he's your friend. If he's not your friend, he's not going to go and get the animal. The first time you send him out, he's gone. He's never come back. Right? So, we have to understand that the dog is a part of the animal kingdom that is permissible for us to live with, but not necessarily inside of our homes. We're encouraged not to keep them in our homes, and it's not actually haram.
Okay.
It is not actually forbidden, even if you kept it in the home. What did the Prophet ﷺ said that, of course, angels of mercy will not enter the home if you got a dog inside there. Okay?
So it's true, means we cannot
That's
keep
true.
it.
No, this didn't say you cannot.
Okay.
It's just saying it's
Better-
preferable not to.
Okay.
Preferable
Avoid.
not to. Avoid, yeah. But not haram, right? So we've gone overboard in this matter,
Yeah.
And I hear non-Muslims say that all the time. So what is it with you guys and dogs?
Yeah.
We come with a dog and the Muslims are running in all directions.
We are very harsh with this creature. That is true. That is true.
It's like we have a phobia concerning
yeah, we have
dogs.
A phobia. Yeah, exactly. Whenever children, they say, "Mama, I want to have a dog pet," or like that. We as a parent,
You
we
say,
just
you're going
give-
mad. You
Yeah.
say, what is this?
Are you okay?
So the point is that, our knowledge, we should have sufficient knowledge about God to give him his rights. We should have sufficient knowledge about fellow human beings to give them their rights. We should have sufficient knowledge about the creatures, the world in which we live, to give it its rights.
Dr. Bilal, life nowadays is getting really fast, and it's really difficult for people to cope up with the relations around them, especially parents. What's your verdict on this?
Well, if we are earning and so busy earning that we can't spend time with our parents, we're in trouble.
We're in trouble.
We're in big trouble, because that is the sign of the crumbling of a civilization. When the children no longer have time for the parents. Those parents had time for us when we couldn't do anything ourselves.
True.
They had to clean us, feed us, look after us, and did all of that for us. Now when their turn comes, that they now should be pampered by their children, the children are too busy earning to do it, then we say there's something wrong. That society is crumbling. So the easy way out, we stick them in an old person's home.
Yeah.
Let those people look after them. But then you read and you hear, you watch on television how many cases they've gone into old people's homes and they've found the people being abused. Left and right, people abused in old people's homes. So this is wrong. This is a bad sign. It's a sign that we have twisted our priorities.
Yeah,
Our
that's
priorities should be family. That is priority.
But if the earnings are helping, we are helping them through our earnings, what about in that case?
It's the same thing with children. We have little children, we stick them into the nurseries. As soon as they can get in there, we stick them in there. And we're busy earning. But what's happening to those kids in the nurseries? Again, how many cases of abuse have they found in the nurseries? Where those working nurseries have abused the children? How many cases? That child, it needs your love. It needs to be close to you. It is crying, it wants your presence. And you're saying, no, you stay in there because I have to go and work. No. This is, again, twisted priorities. Because we're not satisfied to have a decent life. We want a high life.
More, yeah.
Yes. We're driven.
Yeah.
Our credit system, we're living beyond our means. We have to pay off these debts that we've built up. We have created this monster, which is now the working world for us. And we are harming our families with it.
That's true. But Dr. Bilal, I myself personally sometimes feel that the time where Rasulullah was there, that time the life was very simple. Earning was very simple. There was no much of struggles that time that we face now. This world now is full of illusions, and it's very expensive for everybody to live a good life here.
But I don't agree with you, actually.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
because, if we consider in those days, if you had to look after animals, right? They had camels in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, camels and sheep and so on and so. Imagine what it took for you to take all these sheep out, to get them fed and all this stuff, and and bring them all back, and then to cut them and to. Now we've got machines. They're put into places. You just pay a bit of money. This is all taken care of. It's done like that. All the slaughter is done. It's much easier today. Life, this is a delusion that we have in our mind, thinking that, no, life has become so difficult and complicated. Back in the old days, you know, it was so easy. No, it wasn't. People, if you had to grow vegetables, this was digging with your hand and your foot, and the whole family is out there and getting the water, and the water is not available, there's no streams, and life was very difficult. You know, Allah said, وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي كَبَدٍ. I have created human beings in struggle and strife. That is the nature of life.
Usually we give this term that this time is different. The time is different now. So think different. It's not
true.
We should not. Yeah.
It is different, yes. Technology has changed, etc. But the basic elements of life haven't changed. They're still the same. That's why Islam is applicable to all times. Because once you start to say that, well, life was easier then and life was this, so therefore those things were good for then and they're not good for now. That's what you're implying, you know. You may not actually be thinking that, but those are the implications of your words, that today Islam is not relevant. A'udhu billah. No, Islam is relevant in all places, in all times.
Okay. My next question, like nowadays, if you see around, there is a lot of materialism. People, they give more importance to materials, things, than people around them, than relations. So I want your verdict on this.
No, it's the same as what we said before. It's not just this time. You know, materialism has always had its draw on human beings. You know, the desire to want to have the things of this world. Alhaakumut takathur. That's 1,400 years ago. Allah said in the Quran, Alhaakumut takathur. Your desire to collect the things of this world will cause you to lose sight of the realities of life. That is not going to change. That is all times. That's how human beings are. You know, we get caught up with the material life and we lose sight of what life really is about. What is really the goal of life? Is the goal of life getting a nice Bentley? You know, having a nice castle? Is that what the goal of life is? No. Or is the goal of life to worship God in order for us to live a life which is pleasing to God, so that we would earn for ourselves in the life to come the better life? You know, isn't that the goal? So if that's the goal, then we have to backtrack and say, well, what are we doing? Is this helping us to get to that goal, or is it not?
Then what about those families who earn really good, who do have Bentleys and they serve people also? They are good in their religion aspect as well.
1 in a million.
One in a million. True.
Yeah. That's why the Prophet ﷺ had said that the poor people would enter paradise 500 years before the rich. Why? Because vast majority of the rich is that once you get that riches, you know, you accumulated the riches, you lose sight of God, you forget God. You're so happy with what you have, life is perfect, you know, and of course what happens is that your life actually becomes wretched.
Yeah.
On the surface it will look like, yeah, they have such a wonderful life and they do, but when you actually go inside, you find that the life has got so many issues, so many problems. You know, Diana, Princess Diana, it was like
princess,
so wonderful life. Yeah. But then when you got into what was happening on the inside, you know, with her husband and this one and that one and the tragedy, boom, then she ended up dead. Like that. Look at the other big figures, and you see their lives, terrible lives.
Terrible.
So the reality is that excess of riches is really a wretchedness that will come into your life unless you realize the purpose of life and you are able to rise above it, utilize that to benefit yourself, to benefit those around you, and to benefit the society. You know, you use it for the good. It's a means of earning for yourself greater good. You know, among the companions of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, some of them were very rich. But how did they use those riches? That was the point. You know, they were able to accumulate. But how did they use that accumulation? Was it just for themselves? Did they build huge, tall castles? And so it's really a mindset. You know, if we've understood what Islam is and what Islam teaches, then these things are only tools. They're only means. They help us to do the right thing in this life.
So it means like better to live a simple life with simple things around you.
We could say that's the best life.
That's the best.
That's the best life. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had said, be in this life like a traveler.
Yeah.
You know? You're a traveler, what do you take? You've got your suitcase. Are you going to put the kitchen sink in there too? No. Like you just take what you need to get you through life.
Yeah.
You know, that is the best life. But it doesn't say that people cannot seek more, have a bit more, be more, live a more comfortable life, etc. There's no harm. It's not haram, it's not forbidden. The simple life means less stress, less strain, less issues that you have to deal with. You know, you can go to sleep at night, no worries.
Yeah.
You wake up in the morning, great day. You know, but when more stuff you have accumulated, the more issues you have out there, and then you're going to bed at night, you can hardly sleep, you got to pop some pills, whatever to get to sleep. In the morning you get up, you're just wondering, okay, what am I going to do today? What else do I have to do? Calling this one, so it depends. If you want that life, it's there too. But at the same time, know that Islam has prescribed certain things for you, so that this life doesn't become a total loss.
Yeah.
You need to do what Islam requires of you to do to fulfill your responsibility to your fellow human beings.
So in front of you, what is basically a happiness or contentment of life?
Contentment is doing and living a life in which you know that Allah is pleased with what you're doing. Whatever it is, whatever field you're in, and it doesn't mean you can't strive to be the best of this and to do the best in this. No, of course, Islam encourages us to do the best and to be the best. But do so knowing that what we're doing serves humanity. To see somebody's face happy when you have provided a means for them. Education, we have so many people don't have access to education.
True.
So many people don't have access to food and to water, and basics of life are missing in so many places. For us to take some of our time out to serve those elements of society, who are in dire need, and to see their happiness coming from what we're doing, that brings a level of contentment you will not find in an office, behind, a computer, sitting all
life,
day.
yeah.
You'll not find it there.
Okay, this is a question from somebody. In some countries and culture, when a person dies, people emphasize on the situation around him. Oh, this person was very riches. There was, that day was raining when he died, especially in India and Pakistan. These issues are a lot there. People, when the person died, people don't think about other things, but the people emphasize more on, oh, he was very light, and his face was, mashallah, with too much noor.
Oh, okay.
How do they know all this?
Finding is assurance that this person, in spite of the kind of life that they lived, they might have lived a horrible life.
Yeah, no matter.
There was a terrible person, but at the time of death, all of a sudden, all these saintly issues come up. There was light coming from his coffin, his shroud.
This made me question,
he said he felt very light, you see, I understand. But, of course, this is just, people trying to find some hope or some sense of assuredness that everything is okay. It's all right for me to continue as I am, because I am like that person. They died. I live a similar lifestyle. So I'd like to know that when I die at the end, there are good things that are going to happen for me too. So it's more or less guaranteed that I will be going to paradise. That's what we're looking for. And this is, of course, a delusion. It's unfortunate. It's satanic, really, because it's not coming from God. So it must be coming from Satan, fooling people into thinking it's okay. How you're living is perfectly okay. It's, in the end, everything will be good in the end. Don't worry about it. All's well that ends well, right? So it will end well. Don't worry about it.
So it's a false satisfaction to yourself.
It's delusion.
It's delusion.
Satan fools us, and it's mentioned in the Quran where Allah says, I will make them have so much hope that they will go astray.
Yeah.
They're so sure that everything's going to be all right, that they will go and do things that they know is wrong. They, are sure that this is really something displeasing to God, but doesn't matter. Everything's going to be all right.
And what about those deaths, accidental deaths, People assume like, oh my God, one should never die like this, in accident or in tsunamis. Or what about these deaths?
Well, we know when the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, was going for Hajj, one of the people who was making the Hajj with them fell off his camel, and the camel stepped on him. He died. And the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, had them, bury him in his ihram, and mentioned that, that he would be among the people of paradise. So, a person dying an accidental death is not a bad thing. In fact, he called martyrs those who die in buildings falling on them. These are all accidental forms of death, and he called them martyrs. That they would be among those going to paradise, among the first of those going to paradise.
Really?
Yes, people who die in earthquakes and this type of thing. But this is if they themselves were good Muslims. It's not to say that you are an evil person and just because you died in an accident you're okay. That's the way to go. No, but if you're a good person, that is a means of purification of sin for you.
Okay. So like what about these innocent deaths in terror attacks and these kind of things? Same goes with them?
Yeah, same idea.
Okay, my next question is, why people are spending lots and lots of money for Umrah and Hajj? And even if they do once, they do it again, then again, even for Hajj. And instead of looking people around them, their neighbors, have they been to Hajj or Umrah before? Why don't people think like that? Only they think of themselves and doing it again and again.
Well, of course, it's not something pleasing to Allah in that people would do this for the wrong intentions. Because when you ask those people, why are you doing it so many times? You don't get the feeling that this person is really, moved by Hajj and they love Allah and they just want to be, back at the Kaaba, so they can make ibadah. No, it's more a ritual thing. Well, the Hajj, it cleans up your bad deeds. So I got a lot of bad deeds, but I need to make a few of them, right? It's not enough for me to just make one. So they're looking at it more in that business approach. This is the business approach to Hajj and Umrah. That's why they will go to Masjid Aisha and they'll go back and forth, back and forth. Okay, how many can we do? This is nonsense. This is not from Islam, really. It's a delusion that people, again, Satan has deluded people into thinking that simply the rites and the rituals of Hajj will purify you of sin. But it's not that at all. It is you. If you are not purified, if you're not seeking to purify yourself, then making Hajj will not do anything for you. It will just become really an evidence against you on the Day of Judgment. You were there. You had full opportunity to know and to experience and to serve and to worship, and you didn't. Instead, you were there in Arafat complaining, where's the shade? It's so hot here. Everybody else is trying to make dua and you're complaining and, and uncomfortable, but you made Hajj. But you missed out. You made Hajj, but you didn't catch what you were supposed to have caught.
And is it possible, is it true that we can do Umrah or Hajj for those who are no more in this dunya?
Yeah, if they didn't.
They didn't. If they were not able to
do whatever, it's possible to make Hajj for them.
What about Umrah?
And Umrah also, it's possible.
But not for alive people.
Well, if
like we have a miserable parents and they cannot come all the way for Umrah or Hajj. What about those?
Yeah.
We instead for them, we can do that?
Yeah, if they're ill, they're not able to do it on their behalf, it's possible.
It's possible.
They call it Hajj Badal. It is known. It's known. But, again, we should be clear that if your relative who died was an evil person, you're going to make Hajj is not going to change anything.
Really?
No. It's not going to change anything.
It's not going to benefit them
No.
at all.
If that person was a good person, they had the desire to make Hajj, they didn't have the opportunity, and you have the opportunity to do, yes, that will benefit them. But just to think that, because otherwise, think about it this way, you could live the most evil of lives, then you pay 100 people
Yeah.
to go make sincere Hajjs for you, and then you're just sailing into paradise. No, no. See, that again is a delusion.
Yeah.
A delusion. You know, this happened to the Christians a long time ago, back in the Middle Ages, right? Where the popes used to sell certificates to paradise.
Okay.
Yeah, they were called papal indulgences. So the rich people would come to the Pope. The Pope would have a certificate which says the bearer of this certificate has a place in paradise. He would sign it, he would stamp it, they would pay the money, and they would go away happy.
Wow, how easy. Dr. Bilal, we usually take personal loan from a bank for car or some other things. So what is the religious implication on us as a Muslim does it have? Is it haram?
Well, loans are halal. To take a loan fundamentally is halal. But I would advise people that if taking a loan means you're trying to live beyond your means, you know, you have enough money to buy a used car. And that's what you want, is a car to get you from A to B. But because your friends have
Good
nice
cars,
cars, new cars, you feel, I should have one too. So now you now go to seek what you cannot afford. You can't afford this other car. So now how are you going to get this other car? You take a loan. Now this is not good. This is not good. You're living beyond your means. You're putting yourself in problems, you know. And I remember way back in the 90s, early 90s, I'd seen a survey done of people in the streets of America, living in the streets, you know, homeless people.
Okay.
They said there were more than 4 million people living in the streets of America. Something unthinkable. People think America, everybody's got a skyscraper. I mean, you're living life.
How
But
come
no,
America? Yeah.
And they said that many of those people were people who got caught up with their debts. They had taken out loans. They were living with the credit card. Because this is what the credit card is, isn't it? It's a trap to trap you into living beyond your means, because you can now buy when you don't have money to buy, right? So then that debt builds up. But you know, you're earning, but then one day you get sick. You can't go into work. Your money's not coming in anymore. All of a sudden, the house of cards crashes, and people end up in the street living homeless, simply because of that. And if we look at countries right now, third world countries, which we come from, these countries are now slave countries to the first world, economically. You know, they have been economically recolonized by loans with debts. It's all about debts. So the third world country sets itself up. The first world countries come in and they offer huge projects, huge amounts of money. We do this, don't worry, it's a loan. We'll take care of it, you know. Yeah, there's interest, but you know, it's just a little bit, you know, don't worry about it. And what happens after they build the project, then they try to pay back what they borrowed, they can't make up the money. All of a sudden time comes and they cannot even pay the interest. The interest is piling up, piling up. They can't even think about the principal. The interest has now become a huge national debt. So that's this lifestyle of borrowing, you know, and of course, given the conventional systems of loans and payments, it's all interest-based, haram.
It's haram.
It's haram. Then the evil becomes even more. We do have Islamic banking, and they do have systems, and you know, most people don't go to them because they don't get the best deal. You know, they say, well, we're borrowing from the Islamic bank, and we're borrowing from the conventional bank, and conventional bank gives us a better rate, and this and that and the other. Actually, the Islamic banks don't lend money. You know, an Islamic bank cannot function
in
on
this way.
loans. it's buying. You have to buy. So
Okay.
this issue of buying and selling, it's going to cost more. But at least it is a sale. It is not
Haram.
interest-based.
And it's not
loan.
haram as well.
Yeah, that's not haram.
So from Islamic banking, we can,
It's
better for
possible.
Muslims to go for
Yes,
that.
if you're going to do that.
Dr. Bilal, this is a question from our viewer that if someone has more than his residence and the surplus property is bought on loan and is being rented out, so how does zakat, which is tithes, applied on it?
If you have surplus property and you are doing business with it, you pay on the returns for the business. You don't pay on the value of the property.
Yeah.
That's not how that's not how zakat is calculated. It's calculated from the returns that you get. So if you have land, it may be worth so much, and you're renting it out and money is coming back, but even the money that's coming back is consumed in maintaining it, then you don't have to pay any interest on it. If you don't have any profits coming from it, you don't pay any zakat on it.
Okay.
Zakat is paid on surplus wealth, which is not being used.
Okay, before we finish it, just I want you to give tips, best tips for Ramadan, which will help our viewers and us in this Ramadan, inshallah.
First and foremost, I would advise people to start to fast from now. Don't wait until the first day of Ramadan. Try and do a few days of fasting from now. We have Mondays and Thursdays, which the Prophet ﷺ recommended anyway, right?
Yeah.
Do some fasting from now. So you start to prepare yourself. So you don't jump into Ramadan and you're leaving, a non-fasting state completely and straight into a fasting state. Also, when you're going into Ramadan, we have to keep the basic sunnah of starting the fast light. Sunnah was to start the fast with dates and water, and to break the fast with dates and water. That was the sunnah of the Prophet. Start light, end light. Because what happens is that instead of what we are doing is for suhoor, we prepare a 3-course meal, we eat up, we're fully
So
packed
that's ready for
and
hours.
then we're ready for that day of fasting, but then we don't even experience the fast because our body spends the rest of the day just digesting all that food that we have taken in. So by the time that the digestive process is ended, which is about an hour before Maghrib, we're now getting ready to break fast. What happened to that fast?
And whole day we are lazy only
Yes.
because of this.
Yes. Because we should feel hunger in the fast. There should be a sense of hunger here so that we can empathize with those who are not hungry because they chose not to eat, but because they have no food to eat. This is supposed to motivate us, And then the other issues of the fast, which have to do with the inner dimensions of the fast, we have to focus on. We can't just only think in terms, I didn't eat, I'm going to eat, that's my fast. No. What do we say during that day? Have we spoken properly, spoken well? Or have we backbitten people? Have we told lies? Have we slandered? Because all of this eats away at the fast, at the value, cancels the value of the fast. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had stressed this, that, if a person doesn't stop backbiting and slandering and these type of things, then Allah has no value, no reward for that person's fast. There's nothing there for them. This is not what Allah has prescribed for us. So fasting is a time of reflection. We lighten the weight on ourselves in terms of our food intake, which tends to clog our minds sometimes, to get a clear mind, because many people, non-Muslims, were encouraged just to experience fasting, try it out. They say, I had this clear mind. I just felt my head was so clear. Because food does clog your mind without us realizing it. It clogs your mind, so you become lazy in your thinking and this type of thing. Fasting is good for them. So we utilize that time properly. Reading the Quran again, don't ritualize it. Meaning, okay, we have 30 juz that we have to read through Ramadan. Every day we have to read a juz. So we're there
without meanings, without understanding
what it is. That is not what was asked of us. Better we only read the whole Surah Al-Baqarah. during the whole of Ramadan, we didn't get beyond Surah Al-Baqarah, but we read and understood what the verses meant.
Yeah.
That is what the reading of the Quran is supposed to be. So
Whereas,
like that, everything else that we do in Ramadan, we should do it with reflection and consciousness. You know, to be aware and be as far away from the blind rituals as possible. Make it real, as they say.
Whereas in our countries, when in Ramadan, people have just, they have only this question: how many Quran have you read? Oh, mashallah, I'm going to finish third one, fourth one. And they're, even after finishing, they're doing it for their relatives and families as well.
So what happens for a lot of people, Ramadan is a time of feasting, not fasting.
Yeah.
Because Ramadan
Nowadays,
nights when
yeah.
we're preparing for that iftar, iftar becomes this huge, banquet, and it has nothing to do with fasting and Islam at all. It's not haram. I would not say haram, but it's haram what we're doing to ourselves, really. Why at the beginning of every Ramadan, the doctors have to give us advice. Please don't overeat. During Ramadan, our biggest problems are people coming in, suffering from overeating. What? People used to tell me, I used to be shocked when I first came into Islam, talking with my Muslim friends about fasting and so on. So they say, no, don't worry, it's easy, we gain weight in one Ramadan. I said,
Oh my God.
Again, what is that? You gain weight you fast for 30 days and you added 10 kilos at the end of Ramadan? How is that? How did you manage that?
Yeah.
We've lost really the value. So when you're going to break the fast, have your dates. Drink some water. Go and pray.
First, yeah.
Then you come back and you eat moderately. Remembering that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had said, the worst container that you can fill is your stomach.
So we should be very light on our food intakes.
Yes.
Whereas it's opposite now.
Yes. We're fallen into the syndrome,
Yeah.
the obesity syndrome. And
Yeah.
actually, in Sahih al-Bukhari, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, when he was talking about the time to come in the future, he said, وَيَظْهَرْ فِيهِمُ السِّمَنِ, and there would appear amongst them the obese.
Obesity, yeah.
This was something in those days. I mean, he was talking to the Arabs. The Arabs are slim guys, No, the idea of obesity was like foreign to them. But he said a time would come amongst Muslims when you would see a large number of obese people amongst them. This is a sign. This is a part of our times now.
And these
obesity
are the reasons.
now, they said, the UN report said that for the first time in the history of humankind, as far as they know, the number of people who are obese are more than the number of people who are starving. And Muslims are right along with them. That's what the Prophet ﷺ said. We would follow them in what they do. Inch by inch, foot by foot, till if they go into the hole of a lizard, we would follow them also.
Okay. Last question is what about the perfume, alcoholic perfumes during wudu? We can pray with that or no?
Well, what I would say the first thing to consider is, are you drinking the perfume?
No.
Well, first and foremost, if you're not drinking the perfume, I mean, why is alcohol prohibited? It's prohibited because you'll be intoxicated by it. So if it's not intoxicating you in any way, then first and foremost, we have to say this is not prohibited. So for those people who say, oh, it's najis, it is najasa, it is filth, considered to be ritual filth. No, that is what was when Allah said in the Quran in reference to alcohol, He said the same thing in reference to gambling.
Yeah.
And fortune telling. Is fortune telling ritual filth? Is gambling ritual filth? The dice, is that a ritually filthy something? You touch it, you'll lose your tahara? No. Nobody says that. So what it's talking about is spiritual filth. It will corrupt our spirit. The alcohol, when a person drinks alcohol, then their natures are changed. They end up doing things that they would not normally do, because they're in the state of intoxication. Same thing, person is into gambling, they end up doing things they wouldn't normally do. They become addicted to the gambling. It just destroys them spiritually, intellectually, emotionally, they're destroyed by it. So Allah tells us to avoid these things because of that consequence. It's a spiritual consequence. So use of perfume with alcohol is no problem, as long as you're not drinking it.
And you can pray with that, no
Yes.
problem. Thank you so much, Jazakallah khair, Dr. Bilal Phillips.
Alhamdulillah.
Pleasure talking to you and honored to have you here.
Alhamdulillah.
Thank
My
you so
pleasure.
much. Thank you so much.
Barakallah fikum.
So viewers, this was Dr. Bilal Phillips with us. Hopefully he was able to clear all your doubts. I will see you soon with my next episode. Until then, take a lot of care of yourself. Fi aman Allah.